the Disability Framework of Understanding, additional services for children with disabilities, the referral process for disabilities, monitoring disabilities, and some new COVID-19 policies for disabilities. So we're gonna start off with mental health. And I'm gonna start off with a video. Prayerfully, it will play.
We know from limited studies how COVID-19 impacts children's physical health. One large study of more than 2,000 children with COVID-19 infections reported to China's Centers for Disease Control found that the physical effects were mild. 90% did not have trouble breathing or need oxygen or intensive care. 4.4% were asymptomatic, and only one child died. That's good news, but there are major concerns about the impact of the pandemic on a child's mental health and well-being.
Families are just under incredible both psychosocial and financial stress right now because of the COVID-19 epidemic. And now you've got kids who are at home all day because they're not going to school, they're not going to daycare. And in those situations, we are anticipating that we will see rates of child abuse and neglect rise.
Even in situations where neglect and abuse is not an issue, social distancing from COVID-19 makes for a stressful time for parents with kids at home. Andrea Delira lives in Texas with her 4 children, ages 4 to 13. She told Newsy even with her husband working from home, it's been hard to navigate at times.
It's been very, very stressful. When he was working home 2 days a week, the kids were in school except for Zoe because she's 4. And it was hard enough just to keep her away from him. That was definitely a huge struggle. And now I'm not only trying to keep her away, but everybody else away from him and quiet, and everybody's stir crazy.
Or take James Cummings, also a parent of 4.
I'm really worried, especially for our middle school student who will be in 8th grade next year, that he's really ready. We have 4 really smart kids, and I don't want to see them be, especially in education. So it really stresses me out that they're getting pushed.
Child and adolescent mental health experts agree there is a lot we know about anxiety and depression in kids that can help parents navigate through this time of uncertainty. Anxiety and depression were already rising in the U.S. According to the CDC, last year, 6.3 million children aged 3 to 17 years were diagnosed with anxiety or depression.
There may or may not be normal, quote unquote, teenage conflict there. Certainly proximity. I mean, stuck home with your family is going to put, there's going to be a family conflict that people need to navigate. And for that reason, if it gets really intense, I, again, reach out to a family therapist for that family to navigate that. A lot of people are encountering that.
So what can parents do? Experts told Newsy having a family schedule that includes physical activity can help mental health immensely. Parents should look for warning signs like excessive self-isolation or changes in eating habits, often telltale signs of depression or anxiety. And also limit their kids' exposure to the news, and also make sure they are not passing on their stress to their children.
I think the most important thing for parents is to seek help themselves if they are feeling like they have been too overwhelmed with stress, be it emotional stress, economic stress, and that they reach out for help so that they can ensure that their health is good enough to care for their children. Children are just so dependent on the overall well-being of their caregivers, parents, grandparents, whoever it is that's watching them right now. And we know that it's just an incredible time of stress for the whole family unit. And so the number one piece of advice I would have is if parents are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, please reach out to your networks, to your healthcare providers, to your social service providers.
For adolescents, mental health experts advise it's okay to feel whatever emotions they're feeling. Having face-to-face or audio contact, think TikTok, good. Texting, not so much. It is important, too, to mentally remind oneself, regardless of age, while we don't know when, much of the stress from COVID-19 will eventually pass. Lindsay Thies, Newsy, Denver.
So the reason why I wanted to play that video in particular is because it highlights some of the factors that we're going to be seeing this school year. Of course, we've always seen a high number of stress and anxiety in our children, but these numbers are going to be increased, if not increased, doubled the amount that we've seen in our previous years. You know, children have been home since March, so they're beginning to display a lot of different behaviors. We've been in an unpredictable state for the last few months, so there's an increase of behaviors in our children and in our families with our parents. So in the mental health section, we definitely have to be able to identify if the children are displaying the behaviors of a child that is depressed, a child that is stressed out, or showing any other behaviors. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit in this section. Also, we have to keep in mind that a lot of our children will be in abusive homes now, or homes that are showing a lot of neglect because of the pandemic. A lot of things, you know, everybody's under a lot of pressure, as well as staff and as well as our parents. The children are under the same amount of stress. So let's jump into it to see what we can do as a team as Head Start to help promote wellness. So we're going to go into our policies, which states Buford Jasper EOC Head Start will support a program-wide culture that promotes children's mental health and social and emotional well-being. Mental health consultation services will be used to provide classroom management, supportive teacher practices, and strategies for supporting children with challenging behaviors. The Disabilities mental health specialist, the education manager, and mentor coach will collaboratively provide support for effective classroom management and positive learning environments. We will also work collaboratively on an ongoing basis to share supportive teacher practices, strategies for supporting children with challenging behaviors, and other social and emotional mental health concerns in classroom staff and classroom staff and center managers. And I know that we've been discussing distance learning. So it's kind of going to be a team effort when we're talking about distance learning, because our teaching staff will be the primary individuals speaking and connecting with our families. So if they're relaying to you guys that they're experiencing some difficulties and they're stressed out or whatever it is, we need you to relay that information to myself or your center managers or Miss Julia or Miss Karen, so that way we can help get the family the services and support that they need. The Disabilities mental health specialist, which is myself, will secure a licensed mental health consultant whom will provide services on a sufficient, consistent, and frequent schedule to ensure timely availability of adequate services to staff and families. I know last year I created a calendar. I will do the same for this school term. However, it may include virtual observations because, you know, everything is different now. So I'll keep you posted on that. The family service staff or designated staff must obtain a parental consent for mental health consultation services at enrollment, which every parent signs off on at enrollment. The Disabilities mental health specialist will build community partnerships to facilitate access to additional mental health resources and services as needed. So we will be using a different mental health consultant this year. However, that does not mean that we can't get resources from other mental health resources in the community. So we will be sharing out on a consistent basis information to send out to the families and parents in regards to mental health resources that are here in our community. This year, we will be using All Children's Pediatrics with Dr. Simmons, who will be our partner. He has a licensed mental health consultant on staff now. So we will be partnered with them this year. I know last year we did use Jameson, but we are going in a different route this year. We maintain a contract or MOU with the mental health consultant annually, so we switched over. The mental health consultant will provide at a minimum at least one group training for staff and families during the program year on a relevant mental health topic to promote the emotional wellness of children and families. The mental health consultant will be available to provide consultation and support on individual concerns, including participation in case management meetings concerning mental health issues. If necessary, treatment may be initiated and provided to children and families as needed on a case-to-case basis. The disabilities mental health specialist and education manager will be responsible for ensuring that staff has up-to-date information on mental health resources in the community, as well as current information on assessing the services of contracted mental health professionals. The disabilities mental health specialist will also use Child Plus, which all of you should be familiar with, to track and monitor mental health referral services, plans, or related activities. I know a lot of times parents will send the referrals and they will send information in the children's book bags. Please make sure that you get it to your center managers so they can get it to myself or Mrs. Daniels. The disabilities and mental health specialist will monitor observations submitted by the mental health consultant to determine next steps or parent meetings. The disability mental health specialist, the consultant, and the education manager will meet regularly as needed to discuss behavior concerns, site patterns, and/or child, staff, and parent social and emotional concerns. So pretty much, the mental health consultant does classroom observations. So we will be getting that information, and once we get that information from the classroom observation, we will schedule meetings or the next steps to decide what needs to take place. Site visits will be conducted randomly between the disabilities mental health specialist, education manager, and mental health consultant to monitor child's progress and individualization of children with social and emotional concerns, which we are going to see an increase when we do come back to the classroom, because families are just in a lot more stress because of the pandemic. So next I'm going to go over the referral process for mental health and behavior concerns. I'm going to go through the standard procedure first, and then I'm going to do the severe procedure. So for my teaching staff, if you have a child that comes in that you feel has a concern, or let's say on the Dial 4 screening, they had a concern in the social and emotional area, in the behavior area, and you feel they need an observation, you still have to go through the referral process. And that's the 10 consistent days of the behavior observations that you document on the behavior observation form. And I will be sending out all the forms to the center managers before school starts so that everyone has a copy of all the forms that you will need. But once you fill out those forms for each day and each incident, depending on how it goes, the information should be forwarded to the center manager, who would forward the information to myself and to Ms. Julia. The center manager can schedule a parent conference to include the necessary parties, whether it's the parent, the teaching team, the center manager, the FDA, Ms. Julia, or myself. A meeting should be scheduled to address the concerns. The disabilities and mental health specialist will submit a completed referral form to our partner mental health agency with the developmental screening assessment attached, if applicable, requesting for an individual observation for the child that's displaying the concern. Depending on the finding, a referral form can be completed by the parent for the individual child to start receiving private services, just depending on what's the result of the referral, of the observation, shall I say. So in a more severe case, like if you have a child that comes in that's biting, that's placing a danger to their self or to other students or to the teaching staff, the classroom staff will immediately need to de-escalate the situation and document the behavior. They should also contact the center manager, who will forward the information to the disabilities and mental health specialist and schedule a parent conference to include the same individuals, not limited to the parent, teaching team, the center manager, the FDA, the education manager, or myself, depending on what the situation is or what's happening, so that way we can come out and we can do an observation of the child, because sometimes it may just be something that can be helped with. Instead of it being something that's a concern with the child, it could be something more towards the teaching technique or the teaching style. Like, are you using your conscious discipline techniques? Things of that nature. After we schedule the observation of the student and it's completed, we will then forward it out to have a meeting to see if the child will benefit from services from our mental health consultant, our licensed mental health consultant. I don't know how to click this raised hand, hold on. I will check the questions at the end because I don't want to mess up what I'm doing right now. Okay. Oh. So the external referrals, basically, if the licensed mental health consultant comes in and she observes a child, she will, and the child explains some behavior concerns or social and emotional concerns and thinks that they will benefit from the services from the mental health consultant on a regular basis, an external referral will need to be completed by the parent and sent to the agency. Also, we can do referrals to BabyNet. I have access to submit BabyNet referrals for our early Head Start children via online. It used to be paper form, but they're only online now. And that's pretty much it for the external referrals with the licensed mental health consultant. That's how we will refer them out for services for that. With the support of the disabilities mental health specialist, education manager, family service manager, family service assistants, the teachers, all the staff, we will provide the information and support needed to promote child and family wellness, and that's the main goal. Family support service for mental health. We will provide information and support on child behavior and development, including attachment and separation issues. It will be a lot of information going out to the children, especially at the beginning of the school year, in regards to anxiety, depression, stress, trauma, because we know that that's a lot of things that our families are dealing with at this time. So in order to engage them and promote wellness, that's some of the information that I will be sending out when we begin school. It may be sent out virtually, and for the kids that are on site, we'll give it to the parents when they come in. The model and share information concerning appropriate responses to children's behavior, including positive guidance techniques, development stages, and the importance of providing a supportive environment. Provide individual and group opportunities for parents to discuss wellness and mental health issues. That's also in our education policies under the Parent Education Plan. We will help parents understand mental health issues, including their own emotional wellness, and provide information and referrals as appropriate, meaning the services are not just for the students, it's also for our families as well as our staff. So if you're in need of any supportive services in the mental health area, we can assist you in that. We'll solicit parent observations and concerns regarding their children's behavior and mental health, because of course, parents are going to be your go-to people to find out if this behavior that this student is displaying, is it normal, is it frequent, is it something that they're always doing, do they do it at home, do they only do it at school, etc. We will provide information on resources in the community that promote the healthy development of children, and we will encourage and support parents' active involvement in any mental health interventions and treatments, and ensure that parents have access to mental health professionals. So I added in this monitoring for mental health policy. We didn't have one before, so I created one, and it states that all mental health partners, therapists, and consultants will sign into each center and show identification upon entry, which we have been doing this anyway. However, it was never written in stone. So now it's something that we must do, and they must sign in and they must show identification when they come into the centers. Center managers will also be required to forward those logs to me. And not only will they forward the logs of them signing into the building, but I also would like for them to forward me the logs of them signing into the classroom as well, the last day of every month while school is in session. All completed classroom observation forms will be sent to our education manager and uploaded into SharePoint by myself. All referrals will be uploaded in the child's electronic comprehensive files under the appropriate tabs and into SharePoint as well. Twice a school term, there's a form that we actually use for the self-assessment checklist. However, I'm going to use that same form as a monitoring tool twice a school term at each center, so that way we are staying in compliance. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 updates with mental health. All partners, therapists, and or consultants will be required to adhere to the same procedures and regulations as Buford Jasper EOC Head Start, Early Head Start staff, to include completing a questionnaire upon entry into the facility, having their temperature taken prior to entry, wearing a face mask at all times while in the facility, maintaining social distancing while at our facilities, and following the same hand washing and sanitizing procedures that we have in place. All of their materials that they use, I know a lot of times they come with blocks and toys and things of that nature. They will be required to sanitize those items before and after each use if they're going to be using those items. Individuals must also adhere to our enter and exit designated entrances and exits. Any visitors that has answered yes to any of the COVID-19 symptoms will be denied access to the building and must leave immediately, as well as if they have a temperature. And any of them that is denied access to our facility or show any symptoms on our checklist, it needs to be documented by the center manager, and she can get that information to me. Okay, that was it for mental health. And now I'm gonna go into disabilities. Again, just hold on to your questions because I really do not know how to check them while I'm on here. So just hold on to them. I'm gonna check them when I'm finished the PowerPoint. So, disabilities. I also have another video for you guys for disabilities, and it's about inclusion.
I felt nervous, very nervous. I was with him full time, and then to hand him over is nerve-wracking.
It's mostly fear of the unknown. I didn't know how we would fare in a classroom setting with all those typically developing kids, and then how we would understand those instructions and those lessons that are being taught by the teachers.
In early childhood, every classroom is an inclusive classroom. Whether you're talking about children with abilities or just children that have had different life experiences up until this point. You look at your environment differently, and how is the environment accessible to every child, and how is your environment set up so that every child is getting exactly what they need.
Our mission and vision statement are anchored in high expectations and outcomes for all students. So living that out at the early childhood level, that was the work.
I think it all starts with that IEP process. So really having that evaluation team and the current team writing those functional goals and objectives. My goal is that services such as speech, OT, PT, all those could be embedded right within the classroom and the routines that we have.
When you are an early childhood kid between 3 and 5 years old, you want to do what your friends are doing. And to have children, the expectation that they're going to sit and do one specific thing at any given time that you choose doesn't always work out. But when it's an itinerant model, having those service providers coming into the environment, working with kids, doing things that kids are naturally doing is in the best interest of kids.
We used to have our kids that are the kids in childcare, and then our kids with IEPs that were joining that group. So it kind of starting out to meeting those needs more individually, which has really turned into all that joint ownership. All kids belong, both reg ed and special ed teacher and therapists too, that we all are a team for every child.
I think teachers learn from other teachers. And so when you have special education people in there, whether it's an OT or a PT or a speech person or just a special education teacher, they are modeling different behaviors or using different words that as the regular ed teacher, you can listen and go, oh, I may be able to use that with another child.
He's learning in class, he's engaged in class, he has relationships.
Before, we were like thinking maybe we're going to be there for the rest of our lives to support him with all the needs that he got. But we are so happy to see that he can really do the things that he can do right now. Those skills has developed so much. He can truly create something wonderful, and that really makes us very proud.
I think what we know now is that there are more questions than there are answers, and to be open to every opportunity you are given to learn and to develop always what's in the best interest of the child, and to give them those opportunities to show you what they need and to listen to them.
It makes me really optimistic for his future. You know, I used to worry a lot about, would he fit in? Would he get picked on? How would his classroom environment be? But he has become quite the popular guy at school. So he comes into class and I can't even tell you how many kids hug him. He has true friendships, true relationships in class. And he brings a special just energy to his class. And it's positive for his classmates too, to see that.
I hope inclusion promotes awareness to those typically developing kids that there are other kids like our son that need support as they try to learn their way through life.
There's a softness there, there's an empathy there that I see in his peers. So we didn't expect that, but we love it.
We know that young children need a variety of rich experiences with all of their peers. And we also know that not only children with, but those without disabilities benefit from inclusive environments. Wisconsin's vision, every child a graduate, college and career ready, is not possible unless our children with disabilities have the opportunity for meaningful participation in their classrooms, in their schools, and in their communities. Now is the time to get past the hurdles. Whether you work in private or public school settings, in center or family-based childcare, Head Start or special education services, every one of us will be able to take great joy in making a difference for our kids and their families. As you move toward inclusive environments, if you are in need of assistance, feel free to contact the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. We'd be more than happy to help. Thank you.
Okay, I really enjoyed that video because it's very important that we are practicing inclusion and including our children that might have a disability in all of our classroom activities and events. So full participation in program services and activities. We will work with the family service manager and myself to develop and distribute recruitment materials that promote the enrollment of children with disabilities and maintain a relationship with providers of early intervention services in the local school districts. So for the new staff and for the ones that are returning, we have to maintain a 10% of enrollment of children that have disabilities or mental health concerns. So you're likely to have a child in your class that is going to have a disability or a concern. So please don't be surprised if you have more than one child in your class that has a disability, okay? It's in our Head Start performance standards that we must maintain 10% of our enrollment slots are filled by children with disabilities. So also it's our job to continue to recruit. It's everyone's job to recruit, and it's not just recruitment of Head Start kids and early Head Start kids, it's also those children that may have disabilities or mental health concerns as well. So as our video just showed, we will modify all classrooms and learning environments for instruction to support full inclusion of our children with disabilities. At no time should our children that have disabilities be isolated or separated from the other children. They should be included in all of your activities that you have for all of the children. It shouldn't be a separate activity just for the child with a disability. Also, we will ensure all individuals with disability are protected from discrimination under and provided with all services and program modifications required by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and their implementing regulations. To ensure the individual needs of children eligible for services under IDEA are met, Beaufort Jasper EOC Head Start will work closely with local agencies responsible for implementing IDEA, the family, and other service partners as appropriate to ensure services for children with disabilities will be planned and delivered as required by their IFSP or IEP as appropriate. Children are working towards the goals that's in their IFSP or IEP. Teachers must individualize with children on their lesson plans to incorporate those goals. Elements of the IFSP or IEP that the program cannot implement will be implemented by the appropriate agency, related service provider, and/or specialists. IFSPs and IEPs will be reviewed and revised as required by IDEA. Services will be provided in the child's regular Head Start classroom or home to the greatest extent possible. So we are partnered with our local school districts who are responsible for creating the IEPs. The IFSPs, we are partnered with BabyNet, who is responsible for completing those. At all of those meetings, I'm supposed to be in on each of those meetings. So in the event that you catch that there's a meeting that Ms. McNeil may not know about, please send me an email so that way I am aware of all of those meetings. Also, let me go back. Also, our teaching staff should have a copy of all of the children whom are in their class that have IFSP or IEP. If you do not have a copy, please get with your center manager, whom will give you a copy. The disabilities mental health specialist and/or education manager will provide staff with training on inclusion and inclusion practices annually and utilize lesson plans, routines, and intentionality to ensure inclusion. The disabilities mental health specialist will initiate an individualization staffing meeting which will include myself, which will include myself and all parties that's needed, because it's going to be more than just the family service workers and the center managers, the teachers. However, when a child enters the program with an existing IFSP or IEP who receives multiple services and or has additional health needs requiring specific training, participation, or transition activities, this is assessed on a case-by-case basis. The disabilities mental health specialist will obtain copies of an existing IFSP or IEP. One copy will be filed in a child's file by the by the FDA, and a copy will be uploaded in Child Plus, and a copy sent to the child's teacher through the center manager, which I already explained. And it's by law that they're updated. A parent can call a special meeting to update the information. Maybe they want to work on specific goals. So always keep in mind that a special meeting may be called to change some of those goals. However, they're updated annually, and the IFSPs are updated every 6 months. So teaching staff will use the IFSP or IEP. And the IFSP, because I know I might have jumped the gun, everybody might not know, the IFSP is up until age 3. And then once a child turns 3, they will receive an IEP, which will follow them throughout the rest of their time at Head Start and into when they enter public school. As well as an ongoing observation and parents' input to plan learning activities that are appropriate and supportive of developmental goals. The disabilities and mental health specialists will maintain ongoing communication with the disability service providers in order to provide services that are collaborative and not duplicative. Following transition procedures appropriate for service providers will develop a transition plan 6 months prior to the child's 3rd birthday. The plan will support parents of children who at age 3 will need to be evaluated and consider for services for preschool age children with disabilities. The disabilities mental health specialist will coordinate with the service provider to be involved in the transition process. So that's basically when the child is in early Head Start and they're getting ready to turn 3 years old, there's a transition meeting that takes place. So that's the meeting that they're speaking of in that bullet. The disabilities and mental health specialist, education manager, and center manager will provide ongoing support, modeling, and training for teachers, which will include but are not limited to information of the referral and evaluation process, assistance with planning appropriate activities, and training on specific developmental concerns. Children who do not qualify for LEA or EI services may be referred to services by a private provider. A referral to a private provider may be initiated in conjunction with a referral to the LEA or EI provider in order to ensure the child receives an evaluation and or services should they qualify. The disabilities and mental health specialists will be present at RTI transition in all meetings as scheduled permits to facilitate a positive experience for the family, assist the family and teacher with advocating for the child, and to ensure the timeliness of screenings, evaluations, and services. I will also use Child Plus database system to track and monitor disability referrals, IEPs, IFSPs, services, and related activities. The disability manager and or FSS will flag all children with concerns, IEPs, IFSPs, or who receive private provider concerns in Child Plus. So I'm gonna jump into the referral process because I'm running out of time. So I'm gonna try to hurry up so I can answer questions. But the referral process basically looks like, well, before, of course, we get a lot of our disability referrals from our developmental screenings that are conducted on the children within the first 45 days of their entry. I'm not sure specifically how that's going to look. So we may get some from there, but also we have been receiving some from the physicians have been putting them on the health forms. And we're able to identify that the children have concerns in speech or OT or whatever it is. And we still have to follow the same process on how we submit the referral to the school districts. That process is a completion of the packet, which is the cover page, which is the response to intervention page, which is only to be completed by myself. There's another page of the parent notice and consent preschool screening to be completed by the parent. There should be a completed parent consent for physician referral for OT, PT, or speech therapy via the local agency determining eligibility to be completed by the parent. The completion of the developmental and social history form, which is completed by the parent. And along with those forms, I will also have to send the developmental screening results, vision and hearing results, and the child's current teaching strategy goal report. That whole packet would have to be sent to our LEA, which is either Beaufort County School District or Jasper County School District. When it comes to teaching strategy goals, I do want to say this. I know that when we do our developmental screenings, it may be a little while before you get the teaching strategy printout. So the results may be different, but please keep in mind that if you refer a child for speech or whatever you refer the child for, it has to reflect the same concern when I submit the referral to the district. So if I submit the referral to the district, but the teaching strategy goal shows the child on level, on the teaching strategy goal report, they're not going to want to evaluate the child when we're referring the child to them, if that makes sense. They will flag it and they'll say, well, this child does not show a concern. So I just want you to keep that in mind. When I'm monitoring disabilities, I will run reports daily or weekly, depending on the need, and monthly to verify children with disabilities and monitor their services. The child files will be monitored by myself to verify all the IEPs and IFSPs are up to date and current that are in the child's file. There will be site visits completed monthly. The disability manager will report updated disability numbers, special cases, and related disability information at our weekly staff meetings. All partners, therapists, and consultants will sign into each center the same as the mental health consultants. They'll sign into the center, and then they will also sign into the classroom. If a student has an IEP or IFSP, a copy of that will be saved in Child Plus under the Disability tab, along with any of the services that they're providing or any of the referrals. All of that will be under the Disability tab. And I will also use that same form that I use for the self-assessment to monitor twice a school term in each center. Okay, COVID disability updates is kind of just mirrors the same as the mental health, that all of our therapists will also be required to adhere to all of the same procedures and regulations. Families and children must prepare to have virtual IEP and IFSP meetings as deemed necessary by LEAs. I do know as of today, they are still having those IEP and IFSP meetings virtually. And children who are already receiving services through the school districts and already have current IEPs and IFSPs are receiving their services virtually. Now, those children that are identified and have been referred but have not had an evaluation, those are the ones that are on hold right now because they are not doing, the districts are not doing any evaluations at this time. I will keep you guys updated when they resume doing evaluations, but at this time, we don't have a confirmed process. All the materials that the therapists and consultants will be using will need to be sanitized before and after each use. And the same with the entering and exiting, they have to use the designated entrance and exits. And they'll be, denied access as well if they are not, if they are showing COVID-19 symptoms. Again, my name is Shafar McNeil. I'm the Disabilities and Mental Health Specialist. I'm also the Early Head Start ERSI Specialist. My telephone number is 843-592-7345, and that is my email, cmcneil@thebjeoc.org. Please save my information so that if you need to reach out to me or contact me directly, whether it be for a specific family, yourself, or one of your children, I am here. Again, feel free to call. That is my work cell phone number, and that is my email. Okay, now, thank you, and I'm going to answer the question. I can navigate how to pull them up. I may need a little bit of help. How do I unshare this? Right here. 1 minute. Hold on. Is it under chat or would it be? Okay, question and answers. Answered. How do I would it be possible to get links to these videos? No, that's not for me at all.
Yeah, she was talking about the videos before.
Oh, okay. Is there any questions for me? Can I see the question?
There are no questions. There are no questions right now.
Okay.
Someone just said they enjoyed your video in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I was just talking, but I don't know. If you guys have any questions after this, you can.
All right, there's a question now in the Q&A.
Okay, is there a way to speed the process up for early when it comes to sending out referrals and getting the children the help they need quicker? Yes. Do I put answer live? I think I did. Okay. So yes, I think for now, me knowing the process more than I did, because like a few days ago, made 1 year I've been with the agency. So I really was still learning how to submit everything and to get good feedback from them. But now I know the process a little better. So when it comes to Early Head Start, those referrals will be getting sent directly to BabyNet. So if you know of a child that is showing the concern, we can do the referral process and get that child referred to BabyNet quicker than I did see from last school term. So it shouldn't be a problem to get them quicker. Now, I don't know. Now, that's just getting the referral to them. I don't know their process on how long it's going to take or the turnaround for the child to actually get evaluated. Are there any more questions? Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you guys for your time. I look forward to this new school year. I'm super excited. I hope you are too. Wait, I think I have another question. Okay. If we are going to teach virtually and a parent has a concern about their child, we have to go to the home to observe that child after their documentation. No, I don't believe that I would have to go to the home to observe the child. We are also offering, and I meant to say this during the video, it slipped my mind, but we are also offering mental health services. So that may be a child that I would refer to our mental health consultant via mental health services, and they may be able to observe them virtually. And then it probably would include a lot of documentation. Like if you document all of the concerns, I would include that in the referral to the mental health consultant that we have partnered with. I hope that answered your question. And I see one in the chat. What can be done in a situation when parents conceal their child's disability, the fact they have an IEP or IFSP already in place upon registering their child for Head Start, or that their child has been accepted into the disabilities program but does not want child to participate to be in a special program? Well, when it comes to the child registering for school, if they have an IEP or IFSP, if they have an IFSP, I can find that information out from BabyNet. So if you think somebody's actually like hiding that information, I can reach out to BabyNet or the school district to see if they have an active IEP or IFSP, so that way we can know if they are or if they don't. But a parent has the right to deny services unless it's physically harming them. I believe if it's physically harming them, like if they have a feeding tube and the parent's not feeding them with the feeding tube, like it's like neglect, then we can report it. But if not, then it's really nothing that we can do if a parent denies services, because they have a right to deny services, unfortunately. But we still cannot not bring the child into the program if they have a concern and the parent doesn't want any services. We still have to serve that family, unfortunately. Is there any more questions? I hope I answered that question correctly. All right, thank you guys for your time. I'll see you all soon.